Singapore Airlines uses Changi Terminal 3 for their longer regional and long-haul routes. As you would expect from Changi, this terminal was pretty much perfect. It felt light and airy, while it was also clean and simple. Terminal 3 is also Changi's largest terminal, handling most of Singapore Airlines flights. However, the terminal never feels too crowded and the carpeted floor helps dampen the noise. The lounge had two parts, a first class area and one more for business class. The business class lounge was quiet with a refined look and feel. It was relatively large and had a dining area as well as a large work area. There was live TV and plenty of magazines to read. The Wi-Fi was good. Now here comes my typical slot for me to say cheers. Cheers to clear skies ahead later. This lounge can get rather noisy, especially during peak night hours. Lounge visit done. Let's go to fly. Let's go. Now that we are in the air, let's start with a look at the regional business class seat that first debuted on the aircraft that we are flying today, the Boeing 787-10. Before we start, if you like this video, do consider subscribing and hit the bell icon so you're alerted of more great upcoming flight reviews, wing shots and plane spotting content on the way. This seat is exactly the same seat that Singapore Airlines has on most of their A350s flying regionally. As you would expect from Singapore Airlines, this seat ticks all the right boxes for a business class seat. The warm brown color palette creates a nice relaxed ambience and helps soothe and calm nervous flyers. The seats are laid out in a 1x2x1 staggered configuration, meaning that no seat is directly behind one another. The privacy level of each seat does vary as a result, with some window seats, such as those on row 19, actually closer to the window, giving a greater sense of privacy. Here are the best seats for single travelers. Couples would prefer the seats on row 20 and the following rows, as they are set closer together. However, if you are a couple that just doesn't get on flights, there is a handy privacy screen which can be raised. At each seat, there was a comfy blanket and pillow provided, as well as socks, eye shades and slippers, though Singapore Airlines still refuses to hand out amenity kits. As you'll see in more detail later, there are amenities which you can help yourself to in the lavatories. The seats themselves are comfortable and are upholstered in leather. However, I would feedback to Singapore Airlines that the seat padding itself was way too soft. While comfy in a reclined position, it lacked support when you're sitting upright. And yes, I did get an achy back. The seat walls wrapped around the seat, meaning that all seats, even those closer to the aisle, do have some level of privacy. The seat walls themselves were padded with Alcantara, helping to reduce noise levels, which came in handy when sleeping. Beside you, there was a table console which could be used to place any item you like, such as a drink. There was a closable storage compartment which houses some items, such as the amenities, a bottle of Singapore Airlines branded cloud juice, the same one in fact as the one in the lounge, as well as the menu, which we'll have a look at later. This compartment also houses the charging station, with a 3-pin plug socket as well as 2 high-powered USB ports. It is worth noting that unlike the A350 seat, this one didn't have any scanner or NFC card reader. As it could be closed, it was handy for keeping things out of sight. Below that sat a capacitive panel for the seat controls, which were fairly easy to use. However, as a slight complaint, the response time of the touchscreen panel was really slow and was unpredictable. Hence, false presses were all too easy to make. Beside that, there was a headphone jack, and under that, the touchscreen remote for the monitor. There was also a vanity mirror. Inbuilt into the seat wall, there were 3 individual reading lights which were directional. Each light could be adjusted individually for brightness while all could be turned off together. Behind the seats in front, there was a coat hook and a seat pocket containing the literature pack. The seat pocket was large, though the curved design meant that only laptops of 13 inches in size could fit easily. There was also a space for shoes, though it wasn't accessible when the seat was converted to bed mode. The tray table slides out from in front of you. It was large and proved to be a good working surface. However, the seat itself did have some manufacturing defects, despite the fact that this aircraft wasn't particularly old. As I've said in my A350 review, while some have complained that these seats are narrow, in my opinion, unless you're a giant, they are easily wide enough and still pretty comfortable. The seat controls were easy to use, if a little fiddly, to convert your seat into a bed. The bed itself was comfortable. While the foot space wasn't the best, it wasn't the worst either, with just about enough room for most people's feet. The armrest could also be lowered to increase width in bed mode. While a comfy pillow and high-quality blanket was provided, there were no mattress covers, which will help bridge the noticeable gap between the back of the seat and the ottoman. All in all, this bed was decent, and in my opinion, the straight sleeping position makes it more comfortable than Singapore's long-haul business product, where you have to sleep in a slanted position. Just gonna go for a light rest. Good night. To sum up all of what I said, the seat ticked all the right boxes for a business class seat, practical and comfortable. In front of you sat a large 18-inch monitor, which even pivots to ensure a good viewing angle in bed mode. And speaking of which, let's move on to what is displayed on that screen. The Criswell IFE system is a very good system, with plenty of choice. The system could be controlled by that very large responsive touchscreen or the touchscreen remote. The system itself was intuitive and easy to use. There was also a huge variety of all the latest movies, TV shows, music, games, and I even gave Sudoku a shot. The survey shows the level of care Singapore Airlines puts towards its passenger experience, while the volume and brightness controls were easily accessible. For watching movies or listening to Chinese music, of which there are many so as to please my Chinese viewers, the noise-cancelling headphones worked well, though they were rather large and didn't quite fit my head properly. The interactive route map was excellent as well, displaying all the crucial time, airspeed, and altitude information. There were plenty of viewing modes, including a cockpit view mode. That said, not surprising on Singapore Airlines, there were no external cameras on this aircraft. This is weird given that even a Finnair A320 aircraft does feature external cameras. By the way, do check out that video by clicking a pop-up banner after this video. However, what did surprise me was that I may have wrongly accused Singapore Airlines about the lack of the point of interest feature that virtually every airline now has. Singapore Airlines Chris World Route Map does actually have that feature. However, it is hidden within the search filter. While not easily accessible, it does allow one to preview a huge number of destinations, more so than any other airline. The system itself also had a search filter to search for specific content. As you would expect from a modern aircraft, Wi-Fi and internet connectivity was available on this flight. The Wi-Fi speed was quick and allowed me to create some Instagram stories. Singapore Airlines is a 5-star carrier by Skytrax. Not that that is supposed to mean much, but they are known for their world-renowned service. Be it in premium cabins or in economy, I can honestly say that the cabin crew on Singapore Airlines always makes for pleasant flights. This one was no exception. The crew were extremely friendly and eager to please passengers. Before takeoff, a pre-departure drink was served, along with a hot towel. Hot towels are expected in business, but what sets Singapore Airlines apart is that this is also offered in economy. After takeoff, I indulged in some nuts. And worked on finishing the Singapore Airlines branded cloud juice to prevent wastage. The crew worked tirelessly throughout the entire flight. Though as some feedback, the full meal was only served approximately 2 hours into this flight. While it said lunch, it was more like a hybrid between lunch and dinner. While we wait then for lunch to arrive, let's have a look at the menu. Obviously, do feel free to skip ahead.
This is a Japanese selection.
Is it in one course?
So it's come with 2 books.
Okay.
And this is the core dish. Then kimono to tomewa, this is the including the hot dish.
Okay, I think I'll try the Japanese option. After a patient wait, the meal finally kicked off. As expected, I went for the Japanese option, and my was it worth the wait. The food was flavoursome and incredible, even by ground standards. Here is an in-depth look at me enjoying the meal. Try this one. It's a very Japanese meal in the sense that you got very little portion but a lot of variety of ingredients, so I think they've done a really good job. It looks like a restaurant, something you'll find in the actual Japanese restaurant, or even better actually. Wow. moving on, let's try this one. Initially, I was determined to skip dessert, though realized that for all of my valued viewers, I couldn't skip it, and that cake tasted good. Thank you. Well, this is my first time in the 787-10 lavatory, and I have to say it's pretty bigger than a 350, and yeah, I think it looks nicer than a 350 toilet as well. It just seems a bit more roomy in here. If you didn't already know, this is my first flight on board any 787 Dreamliner, and it was honestly a privilege for me to fly the Dreamliner for the first time in such style. The 787-10 is a great aircraft overall. While it may have a smaller cabin than A350 with less space, thanks to the sculptured overhead bins, the aircraft actually has a similar roomy look and feel. Both airplanes feature lower cabin altitude with higher cabin pressurization, but the air on the 787 seems more moist with higher humidity, and it was less irritating on my sensitive dry skin. In my humble opinion, one feature that is underrated by many are the new larger windows and the electronic shading system. The larger windows gives the cabin an airy feel that is only found on the 787, and it offers the best views of any aircraft out of the window. What I especially like is that no matter how dim the window, it is still possible to glance out at the window into a deep blue clear skies. This is especially useful when the sun is glaring right at you, allowing you to get the views out of the window without being dazzled. Airlines can also do clever things like couple windows together, meaning that one press of a button can dim both windows at your seat, eliminating the need to shut window shades one by one. While it takes some time for the windows to dim, the benefits earlier mentioned far outweighs the slight negative. However, for passengers, the A350 is still the better airplane, with its bigger cabin, larger overhead bins, and most importantly, its quieter cabin. All in all, I do still appreciate and enjoy the 787 experience. Soon we're coming to land at Osaka. So, what then did I think of this flight? Well, the seats weren't perfect nor the best, but they still ticked the boxes for what a business class seat should have. They were practical, comfortable, though they lacked special features that would otherwise set Singapore apart. While Singapore claims it is a regional seat, I would like to highlight that it is still used on flights up to around 6 hours. Pretty much an international flight then. The eye view was great with an abundance of choice, but lagged behind Emirates. What truly sets Singapore apart though is the onboard service. The service on this flight was again excellent. Hats off to all the crew who made this flight such a great one. The quality of the meals are excellent too. To sum up, I would say that while Singapore business doesn't set top standards like their economy product does, it is still a great way to fly and should certainly be on your short list. Thanks for watching, and in the meantime, wishing you and everyone a truly clear sky ahead.